Hello, what's up everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka Review King MB, and I am here to talk about and review The Karate Kid Part 2. This is a 1986 film that was directed once again by John G. Avildsen. And the plot. The plot is we follow Ralph Macchio once again back as Danny LaRusso. At the very beginning of the movie, you see the aftermath of him winning the tournament, which was very interesting to start right where the last movie left off. You see that his leg is injured and he has the trophy, and you get a little interaction with John Kreese and Johnny and the fallout from that I wasn't quite expecting. But then, of course, you jump ahead a few months later, and you find out that Mr. Miyagi's father is dying. So he has to go back to Japan to deal with that, and Daniel-san wants to go with him. So he forgets college and says, "No, I'm coming with you." And of course, while he's there are more bullies and more obstacles for them to deal with in Japan. Now, what I thought of The Karate Kid Part 2 was the movie's fine. It's fine. It wasn't terrible. I think I have heard people talk about the series, the franchise of The Karate Kid, and a lot of them would say that the second movie is on the lower end of the sequels. And so maybe I was expecting a lot worse, given hearing that. And ultimately, I just got a film that was fine, that was perfectly watchable. Ralph Macchio as Daniel LaRusso. You could argue that, and I felt this while watching the movie, is that it doesn't feel like it's as much his story as the first movie was. The first movie, I felt like I got in this kid's head. I felt like I went through this journey with him, whether it was being bullied by Johnny and everyone in Cobra Kai, or whether it was just him trying to learn what he needed to learn, go through that tournament, and prevail as the underdog. You felt like you went through that with him, and even his home life with his mom and Allie. So this movie, it feels like he's just a tag-along. It feels like he's just along for the ride, and it's more so Mr. Miyagi's story, which I wasn't against that, to be honest. I think Pat Morita as Mr. Miyagi is great. He's great in the role. I was okay with him getting almost the spotlight in the story. Like I said, his father's dying, and it's like, wow, his father's still alive in the first place, but he hasn't been there in years and years. They go to Okinawa, Japan, and you see that he has this long childhood friend who they used to be close, they used to be like brothers, but because a woman got into the middle of everything, I was a little confused. I was trying to figure out, like, because they show in the first movie that Mr. Miyagi was married and that she was pregnant and died giving birth, and the child died, and it was this whole sad moment for him. And with this movie, though, you see that there was another woman that he was in love with, I guess, and that's what caused the rift between him and his friend. And all of these years later, I mean, Jesus Christ, how many years has it been? But this guy has held this resentment and this anger towards Miyagi this whole entire time. You see that he sends, which is essentially the Japanese Johnny. That's all this dude is, this Japanese dude who has his gang, and he shows up and he causes destruction. He's destroying the garden, destroying Miyagi's property. He's always beating up Daniel-san as much as he can. Once again, it felt like Johnny all over again. The acting itself was fine, really, from everyone around. I didn't feel like there was a weak link in there. But we have to talk about Allie. We have to talk about Allie with an I. Elizabeth Shue was great in the first film, and definitely a girlfriend that you saw why Johnny went through all of this for someone like her. It felt like those two would make it. And at the very beginning of the film, like not even 10 minutes, you see that supposedly Daniel let her drive his car and she wrecked it. And it was prom, I guess, where, because Daniel-san is telling Miyagi this. She's not in the movie at all. You don't see her at all. he tells him that she says she fell in love with some college dude, and so she's leaving him for this guy. What? Allie! Allie with an I, Elizabeth Shue, after everything that they went through in the first film, everything that Daniel-san went through with Johnny, for you, and you're just gonna take off and break up with him and start dating somebody else? I hated that. I was sitting there thinking, why would they do this? Why? I hate when films, when the sequel comes around, you see that the love interest, they either can't get the actors to come back or they don't know what to do with them. So if they don't kill them off, they just write them out of the movie and just have the characters break up. We just went through a whole film, over 2 hours, in that first movie, of seeing them fall for each other and seeing them go through so many obstacles to stay together. Her family, Johnny, all these things, and it's bull crap. It really annoyed me. I scoured the internet, searched so long to find out why was Elizabeth Shue not in the movie. So many articles just said she's not in it. There was no explanation until I finally found one site that said that she, I guess right after the first movie, went to college in real life, and so she wasn't really acting around this time, so she couldn't do it. And that's fine. That's not their fault or her fault, but you could have done so many things to write her character off. Why was that the direction that they took? Why making her look like a horrible person and ruining that relationship? I was very upset. I feel like even if they were still going to have this setting of Japan and have the characters go over there, you could have just had a scene where Johnny's on the phone with her and says, hey, I'm going to go to Japan, or he comes there and says, I just got back from seeing Allie and now we can go. That's all you had to do, because if you're in Japan, she doesn't have to be there. There's so many different things they could have done to make this make sense. Unless they just said, screw Elizabeth Shue, we're going to have Daniel-san fall in love with Kumiko, the niece of one of the characters in Japan that he ends up sort of seeing and getting sweet on. And it's fine. That relationship is fine, I guess. It's just, it was not Allie with an I. You only see John Kreese at the very beginning, like that scene that I mentioned, where it's the aftermath of the tournament, and you see Daniel has the trophy. I guess Johnny got a trophy for second place, and he's saying, hey, it's not the worst thing in the world, and John Kreese is like, second place is for losers. He destroys the trophy. He puts Johnny into a chokehold. Mr. Miyagi has to come up and deal with him, and has a nice scene where he's basically just dodging his punches. Kreese is punching the windows of the car and destroying his hands and looking like an idiot. And that's it. That's it. I guess it was nice to have some sort of interaction and some sort of anything dealt with those characters. It was interesting to see Johnny be treated like that. It almost feels like, is that normal? Is that something that Kreese did to him? And like, from what I hear of Cobra Kai, it's going to delve more into that. I'm fascinated. I can't wait to watch that now, just after that one scene alone. In fact, I wish we got more of the scene. Some people might not like the new setting, might not like this whole story dealing in Japan. I was okay with it because, look, I was expecting another tournament Daniel has to train and get ready for, but they don't do that. They do something different. They go for a different type of story in the sequel, and that was impressive. I thought it worked. Look, is there a better sequel that they could have done? Absolutely. I just mentioned Allie. I mentioned a couple of story things that I think could have been fleshed out better, or maybe Daniel could have had more to do, just other than the couple of training scenes and the couple things that he does here and there. One thing that did annoy me, I guess is the right word, is that they go to Japan, Miyagi and Daniel, and you see all of the Japanese characters speaking English. And I know that they only did this for us, English-speaking audience, And I guess they didn't just want to have subtitles, but it does not make any sense, and you're not going to get me to buy that these Japanese people are going to speak English to one another. Come on. You couldn't have us read subtitles, at least for those moments, when the Japanese Johnny character talks to Miyagi and he's speaking English, and then goes to Daniel and starts to speak English. Like, why didn't you just have him speak Japanese, and then when he goes to Daniel, that's when he says, I can speak English too, and it could be like a thing. It felt lazy. It did. It felt lazy. Again, if I saw this as a kid, I wouldn't think twice of it. It's just something that was very much in my head every time I saw these characters speak like this. Just didn't feel as natural or make as much sense. But overall, Karate Kid Part 2, you went through this whole movie, and I thought to myself, wow, we're not going to have really any fight, or we're not going to have any karate anything other than a couple training stuff, but other than that. And then this character, the Japanese Johnny character, he goes full Scorpion, Super Saiyan type mode, where he just goes kind of crazy. It's the last 10 minutes of the movie. Him and Daniel have this fight, and it was so weird, so kind of goofy, so over the top, but I was there for it. So guys, let me know in the comments below what you think of the Karate Kid Part 2. Do you like it? Were you disappointed by it? Do you agree that they did my girl Allie wrong? Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later!